Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Suzerain, a brand new game which came out yesterday. That is basically a text-based choose-your-own-adventure type political game. A little bit of role play in there as well. You are the president of Swordland, which is a problematic country. Not sure if it's supposed to be Middle Eastern or Latin America, but basically, you've just been elected to be president. The economy is in shambles. Superpowers are on the left and on the right of you. Rumburg is another country to the north that is threatening, and you are tasked with essentially fixing the country. In our last episode, we got to the inaugural ball. So we got, I think, through turn one, basically. We got through the inaugural ball. And a communist MP, a communist representative of the Congress, was gunned down in front of the ball as he was leaving. So we are not communist. We're pretty much, I would say we're pretty centrist so far in our approach, where our focus is bringing more liberty and freedom to the country while trying to do right by the country. We've invested in a new road project in the north to try and help improve investment in the economy up there. We also just recently purchased some shares of a foreign company, hopefully to enrich ourselves a little bit. Our personal wealth is 1, our budget is 2, and the economy is 5 out of 10. So we're in an economic depression. I think there's like 16% unemployment, and that's where we find ourselves, just after the inaugural ball. Our best friend is the vice president. He helped get us to this point in our career. Many of the folks in the chat are very suspicious of him, but so far he's done nothing other than to be a little bit obnoxious at times, and a little bit of a bootlicker. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, Coffee Filter, how you doing? All right, so it's a few days later after the inauguration. I guess I'm waiting to see what happens. It just says a few days later. All right, it's loading. So I think we said we were going to go to the funeral, right? All right, so it's a few days later. There's a bunch of news updates here. So the Sordis politician shot dead. Bernard Suros, the 53-year-old communist, the murderer, by the way, was identified to be a member of the Young Swords, a nationalist group. And it basically has a nice little obituary or sort of overview of the situation. Unity despite differences. Swordland has 2 paths to the future, and this year is critical to decide which path we embark upon. Amid a recession, the lack of stability and security caused by the death of Bernard Carasis is an unacceptable reality. We need more jobs and a safer atmosphere if our country is supposed to grow and prosper. But how will we increase our employment and open new factories if there's blood flowing down the streets? Swordland will never reach its goals as an advanced society if we descend in a downward spiral of splintering our nation. Peace and prosperity now and forever. The Latvian Times, murder was a method of the past. Okay. The Radical, farewell Bernard Suros. The Radical is definitely a left-wing paper, so they're going to essentially deify him, essentially. Does it say anything about me in the article? It doesn't look like it. And The Economist, the only way out of recession is bailing out businesses. Really? Do we really want to bail out businesses? We don't have a ton of cash to do it. There's a whole shit ton of updates all across the country here. In Estord, police overburdened in Estord. We've been receiving reports of lack of equipment and staff from police officers in Estord. With the escalating violence in the city, the officers have been working 12-hour shifts to suppress the protests to no avail. So apparently there's unrest in the, state of Nargis. Narbel, another city in the same state, says the police are understaffed, and there's political violence ongoing there. Meanwhile, in Bergia, there's a couple of cities here, Uzerin and Izars, both of which are having updates. Illegal Ka-74s, I'm assuming they're supposed to be like AK-74s. A cache was found with Rumburg-made weapons, including 46 Ka-74s, 2,854 bullets, that's not that many for 46 guns, 12 handguns, 27 grenades, and bomb-making equipment was found in the basement of an abandoned house. Okay. And again, the guns are of Rumburg. We know that they're a threat to the north, so we'll see. Young Swords youth wing leader dead after a terror attack. Local Young Sword youth wing leader in Uzerin Jock Torian has claimed responsibility for the organized attack in Blundish Market, the result of the death of 7. Shit. So terrorism is breaking out in Bergia. That's a bit of a concern. What about this town over here? Illegal firearms found in the Communist Party office. So it looks like the Communists and the Nationalists are arming up and fighting and killing each other, I would guess, based off of what we're seeing here so far. Communist Party leader suspected of bomb attack. So there was a bomb. Oh, my goodness. The whole country is just turning into chaos just immediately. Weapons seized in Cultural Center and a Young Sword Cultural Center. Dear God, you guys. Meanwhile, we've got political updates from Valen, which is one of our bordering countries. What do they say? The latest diplomatic message from the leader of Valen warned us regarding the pathway from the mountains of Bergia that allowed traitors of the state escaping to Swordland. President Viktor Smoluk has demanded that the border security be increased. He also sent his best wishes about handling the protest in Swordland. So it sounds like the leader of Valen warned us regarding a pathway from the mountains of Bergia, allowing traitors of the state escaping to Swordland. So traitors of Valia are escaping through this pass into Bergia. So that's not great in terms of our political relations with our neighbors. Angolia critiques trade. The leader of Angolia has diplomatically critiqued the imbalance of trade between our countries. Concerns were raised over how much more Swordland profits from the net trade compared to Angolia. A fair reevaluation of trade deals. Okay, well, I don't really want to make my country poorer by giving you more beneficial trade deals. Yeah, direct action. I think it's just the fact that the communists and the I guess the ultra right-wing nationalists or the fascists are fighting each other now openly. So we've got a report from the BFF activity in the capital, dinner with the family at home, and security briefing on threats against Swordland. Those seem to be our 3 items on the docket. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what happens here. The Chief of Police, Carl Grieser, reports that 2 Bludish women with affiliations to the Bludish Freedom Front, the BFF, have been caught in Hordland before they could execute a terror attack at a crowded rally. Both women are listed as wanted criminals and enemies of the state. The arrested women have admitted their intentions to the attack, the National Front Party's rally at Sol Square, when Kerso Kibner gave his speech, but rejected any connections to the BFF. Both claim that they were acting alone. Police reports that the situation is under control and further investigations are underway. Okay. I guess we'll have dinner with the family then. After a long day at the palace, I was finally home. I thanked Serge and walked through the front gates, nodding at the 2 guards as I went by. Even as I turned the doorknob, I could hear Deanna rushing down the stairs to greet me. I opened the door. There she was, standing in front of me with expectant eyes. Papa, you're home. I don't... There's my beautiful princess. There's my little bright one. Lift her and hug. I guess little bright one. I want to stoke her intellect. So I lifted Deanna up and hugged her while trying to put the keys in the tray next to the entrance. She was growing... Wouldn't they have opened the door for me? She was growing fast. Lifting her up was no longer as easy as it once was. Where's your mother? She's in the kitchen making dinner. I would kind of think we have, like, cooks and stuff, right? Are the bad men gone? It was only one bad man, Deanna, and yes, he's now gone. I will never let anyone hurt you ever. Yes, your papa took care of everything. I really haven't, I haven't done anything to take care of the issue. So I guess I will say I'll never let anyone hurt you ever. Okay. Monica appears next to the kitchen door. She was wearing an apron and holding the spatula in her hand. What did I tell you? No running in the house. I'm just a man of the people. That's why you open your own doors and your wife cooks your family dinner. I guess Vedic versus the world. I suppose that could be true. I am a middle-class bureaucrat. You can apparently, and I didn't know this, I was looking through the Discord for the game. It sounds like if you pick the rich option where you go to school, like you come from a wealthy background, it's kind of like putting the game on easy mode to an extent. You know, the developers said something like, isn't being rich always playing an easier game? You know, when you're poor, it's always a harder game, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't thought about it when we were doing our backstory. Monica approached me and kissed me on the cheek. A tantalizing smell wafted from the kitchen behind her. Darling, you shouldn't have. What do we have a cook for? How was your day, dear? I'm hungry. When's dinner? I guess I'll ask, how was your day, dear? Terrific. I finally got to do some grocery shopping, just like old times, and I'm making your favorite. You mean... Yes, civilly. What the hell's that? It's a classic Cold Shore delicacy. Vegetables and a creamy sheep cheese sandwiched between thin layers of dough. It was absolutely my favorite dish, especially paired with kibiji, a potent, unfiltered wine from Belgium. It's my lucky day. What's the occasion? No occasion, just wanted to cheer everyone up a bit. Her smile faded and she lowered her voice so that Deanna wouldn't hear. Especially after what happened at the ball. I'm worried, Anton, for the children, and for the country. Where is my son, by the way? Call Frank to come down for dinner. He's been sulking in his room all day. Loud rock music. What are we, just like middle America 1950s family here? Loud rock music echoed down the hallway from his room. I caught a faint hint of cigarette smoke. I'm just going to knock on the door. I'll be polite. Turn down that racket and open the door. I will knock on the door again. Okay. Turn those records up louder next time, won't you? I don't think the neighbors heard. I'm your father, and you'll respond when I ask you. Hand over those cigarettes and join your family for dinner. What should I do? Geez, Dad, why are you such a square? I don't know that I'm a square. Come on. Let's see here. What neighbors? Like, aren't we living in the presidential palace? Say, do you know did you know that they refurbished the grocery store? I don't know if you remember the owner. He's been there every day for the past 30 years. Can you imagine doing the same job for so long? What if you were president for 20 years, for example? Honestly, would that be really so bad? I don't want this country to suffer under another soul. 20 years of this, I'd be dead. Why not? We could live like kings. I don't want the country to live... I'm democratic, so I'm trying to be pro-democracy, which means I don't want this country to suffer under another soul. Agreed. That must never happen. Anyway, the grocer's a really nice person. He threw some extra vegetables in my... Frank suddenly slammed his hands on the table, rattling the china. So this is how it's going to be. We're just going to sit here like nothing happened. Dad, you could have been killed. Mom could have been killed. Any one of us could have died. Frank, you know I would never let anything happen to you and Dina, even if it cost me my life. And what would you have us do? And yet we're still alive. You will not raise your voice to me, young man. You want me to do 3, Vedic? I mean, I guess I will hear him out. What would you have me do, son? I don't know. Talk about it, maybe. Fine. Let's talk about it. Sit down. I don't know. It was a close call, but everything's under control. Don't worry, we're going to be fine. Do you think I would let us go down so easily? Hey, Vedic, I'm not ignoring the chat. I'm just ignoring you. I'm just kidding. Let's see here. By the way, I was talking to Wolfpack last night, and I thought this would be an absolutely hilarious game to have like a Twitch chat or like a Twitch plays type thing where the chat picks all the options. But I wonder how quickly you'd get yourself killed, or how quickly the chat would get you killed. I don't know. It was a close call, but everything's under control. Don't worry, we're all going to be fine. Do you think I would let us go down so easily? I guess we'll go with number 3. But it's not up to you, is it? My security assured me that they took all the necessary steps. It was one rogue shooter. We were not even the target. But what if we were? Listen to your father. If your father says we don't need to worry, then we don't need to worry. You have to trust him. We all have to trust each other. Frank got up first and retreated back to his room. Monica lifted Deanna up and plopped her in front of the living room TV before returning to the table. She sat down across from me. Anton, he is still young. I know, but there's not much longer we can shield him from the ugliness of the world. That is what worries me. I made plenty of rash decisions when I was his age. I really didn't, though. I was a coward. I didn't get myself involved in the revolution. I didn't get myself involved. I kind of was just a passive observer and then joined the system. He's scared, Anton, and frankly, he isn't the only one. I promise if there truly is any threat to this family, you will be the first to know. All you need to worry about is putting more delicious... Oh, come on. I worry too, Monica. Things might escalate. Had I been lying to Frank and Deanna? Was the threat to my family truly over? Time would tell. Well, that was a nice little family... Oh, do we get newspaper articles on the family dinner? Protest across Swordland. Okay, so we already knew that. Protest in Gruny. Protests are taking place throughout Gruny region in response to the assassination. Okay. Political chaos. Okay. I mean, I'm not a communist, but, like, all right, let's go to the security briefing on the threats against Swordland. We're going to the Situation Room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts, starting with internal matters and moving on to external matters after a short break. The Minister of the Interior, Lils Graf, and the Minister of Justice and Law, Nia Morgan, would join us for the first part, the law enforcement briefing. For the second part, the Minister of Defense, Josef Lanka, would join us with a few high-ranking officials, including the Chief of the Armed Forces, Valken Kruger. You wouldn't trust chat? You're a part of it? Open the door, Lucien. Nia and Lils rose from their seats. Sir! Please, take your seats. Everyone in the room sat down except for Lucien. He put on his glasses and went through the documents in front of him. Shortly after, he raised his head to address the attendees. Mr. President, ladies, we will kick off today's meeting with the internal security briefing. I'm assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We all have busy schedules, so without further ado, I will jump into the first topic. As we feared, the political atmosphere has worsened. The reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising as we feared. What's the status on the Bernard Cyrus investigation? I've received news this... I shouldn't do that. Okay, so the investigation into the murder of Bernard Cyrus is concluded. Please enlighten us. The more we know, the better. After further research and testimonies, we've confirmed the intention and also the events leading up to the shooting. A few days prior, members of the Red Youth initiated a violent attack on a Young Swords local leader in Gen. We believe that the Young Swords called for revenge, leading to the death of Mr. Cyrus. Since he has often spoken against the Young Swords and national sentiments in the assembly, he was a big target, not to mention his radical communist views. Political violence need to stop. He had it coming. He had it coming. Radical Swordland just lost a great writer for what? The Red Youth are clearly to blame since they triggered it. Political violence needs to stop now. Yes, we've kept it at bay for so long, but it seems that there are new triggers. Lils handed over the report and pointed at a highlighted section in the document. The investigation revealed a very troubling fact. The funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Kantana. This is proof they're meddling in our affairs. Are you sure? Yes, we have found the cash trail. Several Red Youth members with ties to United Cortana have been detained, and the information extracted from them points to a preparation for a communist uprising in Swordland. It isn't unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I think this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Swordland. Nia eagerly lifts her head. I motion for her to speak. I went over the report in detail. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign interference yet. United Kantana has humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries, including Swordland. I trust Mr. Graf's judgment. United Kantana is clearly trying to expand its influence. I also don't want to jump to conclusions immediately. We shouldn't create a crisis with them. Nearly 3 decades ago, they founded General Rickard and tried to establish a communist dictatorship in our country. If it was not for Colonel Soul, we would have seen the real crisis. Our police chief, Carl Grieser, has linked the funding channel to the United Quintana Consulate in Benif. As we all know, the enemies of Swordland are many, but we also have threats inside the country. As the government, we all have the power to deal with any threat. Our country always had issues. This is part of our job. We need to remain vigilant. Chat will lead you to the Tsar ending, Game Foo. That's probably true. What do you guys think? Remain vigilant? Country's always had issues? I'm not sure where to go with this one. I think 1 or 3. 1, Vedic? Just taking a sip of some bourbon. All right, we need to remain vigilant as a people and a nation. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve neither freedom nor security. Where have I heard that before? This is debatable, but yes, we know what more security and surveillance caused to the country under President Sol. Let's not forget that President Sol, God bless him, brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos. But moving on, our highest internal threat comes from the estimated 20,000-strong Bludish Freedom Front, led by the imprisoned Dwaylen Arj. They're a banned political organization, now a militant force that's trying to incite racial violence. They make a lot of noise but have little substance. A barking dog doesn't bite. Are they supported by our Blundish citizens? Are they cooperating with any Blundish political organizations? Many suspected links exist between the Blundish Freedom Front and the Workers' Party of Bludia, but we haven't any concrete proof yet. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Rumburg border. They were filled with military-grade Ka-74s. We expect that more have been smuggled in since a group of Bluds were caught with these guns at a checkpoint not far away. Rumburg has been acting aggressively in the region for a long time. I'm not surprised they would attempt to weaponize the Bludish people against us. This is worrying, very worrying. Can we make any direct correlations to blame Rumburg? It was expected that Rumburg would undermine us, but this is too far. We need to keep a level head with Rumburg. They're looking for reasons to take action. We can't let everyone meddle with our internal security or stability. I think with this one I'll go with 3. Trying to keep a level head. I'm trying to be kind of a moderate. We'll see if it works out, but it probably will end up getting me killed. They'll play dirty while we play nice. It's a battle we will lose. This is grave news, but we must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-Bludish sentiment. What's the second most important threat? If it's the gang violence that is threatening the Nargis and Angland regions, 2 prominent organized crime families are at war and the potential for bloodshed is real. I don't think mere gangs can pose a threat to us. Which 2 crime families? One is known as the Coronelli, and the other is the Skinner Cartel. They used to be allies until a recent disagreement. Both are active in the cities of Narbal and Estord. Trust that you can handle them. They're insignificant, not worth our attention. The law enforcement budget isn't increased. I can't be fully responsible for what happens. Our police units are spread thin as it is. In light of the new information, I might increase the law enforcement budget. You will do your job whatever happens. Don't come to me with excuses. I'm not really looking to spend more money. We don't have a ton of money to spend in the first place. I'm really trying to focus on economic development, and if I go and spend my money on this security, these internal issues... Yeah, Vedic, but I'm sure that our military is about to come in and ask for more money for dealing with Rumburg as well. So this is the first meeting of the day. We're about to get a second meeting where Rumburg's going to come in. The military's going to come in. You'll do your job whatever happens. Don't come to me with excuses. My job's to keep you fully informed, and this is the reality. My experience and expertise in keeping our country safe from violent thugs can only go so far. I wish you would stop using the word thugs, Leals. The real problem is corruption, which is fueling the gang violence and is very likely the reason why these weapons were smuggled in. A higher budget could help end that. Valid points. Corruption is the root of all evil, after all. Your ministry must tackle the issue with perseverance, Mrs. Morgan. These threats seem more directed than a few bribes. We can look into corruption once the weapons have been found and the gangs have been beaten. Just like previous administrations kicking the can down the road, this is what is destroying our institutions. So Leels and Nia, not big fans of each other. Thank you for the overview. Have a good day. Until next time. Okay, so the generals are coming in. Mr. President. Yosef, welcome. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalations on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He had a strong jaw with a sharp cheekbone. His tall stature, uniform, and medals, combined with his deep and intense stare, made him look threatening. He was in his 70s, yet he had a bulky body that was the result of his commando training. Not only was he the second most decorated officer in Swordland, he was also the longest serving. I'm not going to salute the general. I'm the president. I guess. But nothing says he saluted me. President doesn't have to salute back, by the way. There's no requirement. Fine, I'll salute him. Yosef tapped his foot impatiently. He seemed uneasy with the presence of another high-ranking officer in the room. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Let's begin. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders toward Rumburg is very tense. We're observing deployments of divisions closer to our border. Rumburg has been acting increasingly expansionistic in the past decade and also interfered in Angolia, but now they have turned their sights on us. I trust the capabilities of our armed forces to handle any threats. I can assure you of our capabilities, but we don't have unlimited resources. It seems like they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Mr. President, if I may. Please, General. The picture is becoming clearer. The latest information from the interior about weapon caches, and now there is an active military buildup closer to our border. The entire situation was analyzed by our general staff, and our prediction is the future territorial incursions by Rumburg. Let them come. We will give them hell. I have complete trust in the general staff. We will not let you down, Mr. President. The general staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then can we stand strong against our enemies. The enlarged armed forces will hold them at bay. Velkin is right. We do need an increase in the military budget to have a more capable force to face a regional power to defend Swordland. Two of our most talented officers are voicing a common opinion. That is an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, Mr. President. Whether we like it or not, we must be prepared. Richard Shrew, thank you very much for the follow. During the election, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I ask you to reconsider and to increase the military budget. The future and safety of Swordland is in your hands. I'm a man of my word, Yosef. Losef? I'm not even sure if it's an L or an I, or maybe you're right. Defense of our nation is more important. As you said, times change, Joseph. We'll see. I think 3 is a good one. It leaves me open to the option, but doesn't commit me one way or the other. Is the game based on Ataturk? I don't think so, B. Vargas. Left Edge, thank you very much for the follow. All right, so I guess we'll go with, as you said, times change. A glimmer of hope was seen on Losef's face. Our forces would crumple under a decrease, and Rumburg would be much more compelled to exploit our weakness. Our country hasn't fallen to any invading force for 200 years. You cannot let that happen, Mr. President. We could also find regional allies like Valgersland or Lesbia to deter Rumburg. There are several options on the table. Rumburg wouldn't attack any nation allied with any superpower. Swordland must stand on its own 2 feet and be able to defend itself. These options should be considered. I don't know that we can trust any of our regional friends. Do we know if we can trust anyone? We haven't really had any relations with any of them. Also, I think it would commit us to trade agreements that might weaken us. I think we would say Swordland must stand on its own 2 feet and be able to defend itself. I mean, the option of going with an ally of a superpower is a thing, but I don't want to commit myself too heavily to the capitalists. So we're going to go with 2. A few minutes later, he entered the room again. His expression had changed. Mr. President, there's been a Rumburgian military activity close to the Narbal border. I just spoke with the local commander. We should go to the ministry and get further updates from our branches. Understood. Raising military readiness is the first call of action if there is truly an extraordinary attempt. We will relay it to you immediately and wait for further orders, Mr. President. Go and show them the might of the forces. Your service is appreciated, gentlemen. Remain calm. Make sure not to escalate things further. Nobody wants a war. Make sure they know we are observant and ready. I think we'll go with 1. That seems the most prudent. Hail Swordland! Hail! Okay. Romeo Ovo1D, thank you for the follow. I'm not trying to pronounce your name. Rumburg had decided to close their consulate in Lachlan. What? They closed their consulate? All I did was raise the military readiness. I didn't attack anything. What's the newspaper say now? Rumors of infrastructure project. Yep, we're doing that. Gang violence claims a young girl's life. Eek. 1927, never again. I was there when General Luderin and Rykard clashed in the plains outside of Hordland, Holsword, when the armies of Swordish people killed each other. I was there when Colonel Saul won the war after bombarding cities with Swordish civilians in them. We saw the great nation fall into bloodshed and chaos. We thought that we learned our lesson and formed a new republic, but one man's idea became the idea of the state, and we allowed it to be forced upon us. We were a generation who lived with Tarkin soul for most of their lives. However, this generation is different. Our kids have not experienced civil war or martial law. This generation is born in a changing time. We cannot allow the same conditions to return. We cannot forget what General Luderin declared martial law in 1927, when his tanks rolled and murders took place. Those tanks cannot roll again. Bombs cannot fall again. Freedoms cannot be suspended again. 1927, never again. The real truth behind the economic crisis. We've all seen the scenario before. Large corporate businesses time and time again receive money from the government under the disguise of helping the economy, but what about the people? Hey, I've invested in a rural road project. Come on. Underhall construction once again? What was that? Oh. So this, I'm going to guess, is going to have to go... We're going to have to pick a construction company to lead the road project in the north. So it said this construction company, Underhall, was once again picked as the #1 construction company of the year by the Republic State Statistics Swordland. This was the 11th time the company was selected for the top spot in a row since Chris Shear was appointed as the CEO. Veteran industry leader Shear congratulated the employees first and foremost in a private company meeting held in a luxurious resort in Elroy. He mentioned the recent addition of Heart of Swordland organization CEO Marcel Cornty to the board of advisors helped immensely in this great achievement. As the economics, we think now is a great time to invest in Underhall construction, as the current year projection already shows a 13% increase in growth compared to last year. But can we trust them? Rumburg closes consulate. Okay. All right. So those are the news updates. Any other updates along these cities? No. One in Versword. Around midnight, Red Youth protesters clashed with young swords at the Versard City Center, resulting in many injuries. The counter-protests were cornered in front of the United Cortana Embassy. After they were pushed back by the police, the embassy opened its doors and the Red Youth numbers escaped inside. The police are still waiting outside the building for the return of Red Youth members. So the United Cortana Embassy accepted these ruffians inside their embassy and protected them from our police? Okay. React to the unrest, a decision to address the instability in the nation. Read reports from Wholesword. Oh, that's interesting news. Arcia develops the first ICBM. Intelligence reports that Arcia, by the way, these are the Western capitalists, has successfully completed the Missile 4, an intercontinental missile which has the estimated capability to accurately destroy targets at thousands of kilometer range. Arcian missile capabilities have significantly increased, posing a threat to the territories that are further away from Western Maricopa. All right, so react to the unrest. The political situation around the country has escalated. Chief Strategist Lucien Gallad has prepared several action plans that we can execute. What will you do to address the intensifying political climate? Call for restraint on national television. Visit affected towns in person. Label all protesters as traitors. Expand the police by deploying all recruits in training. Reject these plans. I think I'm going to visit the towns in person. I'm a man of the people, after all. End of the day at Maroon Palace, Office of the President. I eagerly approached my chair and sprawled out on it. It had been an exhausting day. So what do we do here? Do we light a cigarette, pour some whiskey, lean back and relax, or prepare to go home? Let's pour some whiskey. I'm drinking some bourbon myself right now, so we'll have a fine whiskey. Glanced downward out the window and saw Serge and the guards waiting for me by the main gates. Heard a couple of knocks on the door. My secretary, Livia Suno, entered. Mr. President, Mr. Tusk is here to see you. You had a meeting with the Lothburg spokesman, so I'm sorry for not giving you proper notice. Don't worry about it. I'd met Swordman's most prominent businessman once or twice, but never alone. He had large jowls, blindingly shiny shoes, and the air of someone who was used to getting his way. Anything to drink, Mr. Tusk? Water? Whiskey? Cognac, preferably from before you were born, sweetheart. Wow. I'll check the supply room. Walter hung up his hat, which I could see was lined with mink. He fixed me with a long, hard stare, then broke into a toothy grin. Good evening, Mr. President. I'm here to congratulate you. My business partners and I wish you a successful term as the leader of our nation. Thank you, Mr. Tusk. I had no chance to say this at the ball with all the panic, but we are very much looking forward to working with you. Thank you. I'd like to build a profitable relationship between us. That being said, there are some concerns of mine and the people I represent, which I would like to take this opportunity to clear up. The people you represent? You know that I represent the Lothburg Group, Mr. President. Who are they again? Founded by Noel Tusk, used to be the economic advisor to the King of Swordland, currently the spokesperson of the organization, Walter Tusk, the grandson of Noel Tusk. Officially, Lothburg has no clear structure of leadership, but the spokesperson is considered to be the de facto leader of the entity. The group What are they? The meetings are secret, but many analysts suggest that the topics like the economy, security, and international politics are discussed. Most of its members are unknown, so it's just like some weird secret society? The ruined state of the economy in Swordland has influenced everyone. The recession hit us all hard. Okay. I had these brought from Lesbia, the best cigars in the whole continent. Would you like to try one? Sure, I'll smoke a cigar. Cigar and whiskey seem to go well together, I think. Now we're talking, a man who knows pleasure in business. I heard that you purchased stock from Armand Industries and Arcasia. Smart buy. They're developing new gadgets that are going to be profitable. With risk comes reward. I expect a very good return on the investment. Spend money to make money, they say. Let's see if it holds true. You have a keen eye for business. I will buy a couple thousand of shares, too, to expand my portfolio. Hope the investments pay off for both of us, President. This is definitely going to be corruption, for sure. You're having a good start to the term, for sure, besides the recent troubles. Glad that you've decided to promote the free market, which is the only thing that can get us out of this mess. We've had nothing but trouble so far. The ability of the free market to evolve is hard to dispute. It's good that we think alike on the matter. I took favorably to my economic team's advice. We really think that there are many elements where our capital could be of help to the government. The highway investment was a good call, but there were more to gain in the high-speed rail, especially for business logistics. The Angland region was in dire need of investments. Our goal was to focus on the needs of the people, not business. The intention of the administration is to boost the economy. I don't want to disclose our intentions to an outsider. I'll say the Angland region was in dire need of investments. The most important goal is to divert investments where most profits can be made for the Treasury. We can be close allies. The group can help you get Swordland out of the recession, which will be the key problem to solve in your first term and could even determine your re-election. Let's start with a gesture of goodwill. Soon the investment project contract will be awarded to one of three main contenders. He pulled a check out of his pocket and slid it toward me on the table. My personal bank details were listed on it with a deposit of 500,000 Swordish Ren ready to be transferred. 6 months of a president's salary. If the contract is somehow awarded to Underhill Construction, they would not only work hard and deliver, but also do it on time. Were they the ones? I can't remember. Were they the ones who won the award? What do you think, Mr. Ryan? Wouldn't that be good? There was a noise by the door. Livio Suno was standing there holding a tray with a bottle and 2 glasses. I'm so sorry, Mr. Tusk, but all I could find is a 1942 Sevigné. I hope that is acceptable. Remind me to visit your office more often. Now, where were we? Do we have a deal? I don't know if I want to take the bribe. Not yet. We both know you can do better than that amount. I'll make my own decision. Did you just try to bribe the president of Swordland? I refuse. I don't know that I want to take a bribe, but I also don't really want to ask him for more money. Hey, Helsenstraat, how you doing? Do we take the bribe? I don't want that construction. Who was it again? Underhill Construction? I'm just worried that if I pick them, they're going to do a bad job because it's corruption, right? I don't want to offend him, though. Did you think that I was just another corrupt politician? If this is what you came here for, then we're done. Thank you for the visit nonetheless. Be careful, Tusk, or you will have to make your deals in a prison cell. Glad you're enjoying it so far. Yeah, I'm going to go with 3. I don't want to, like, offend him, but I do want to thank him for his visit. It was good to share opinions, and we'll meet again in the future for sure. Again, I don't want to poison any well at this point in time. I don't want him to actively work against me. I just don't want to take a bribe quite yet. By the way, the economy's getting worse. We're down to 4. Say hello to Mr. Coronti for me. Have a good evening, Mr. President. That is absolutely none of your business. Of course I didn't. How could you even ask me that? Do not ever speak of this again. You didn't see anything. Hey, listen, if you're going to be a nosy secretary, we might have a problem. Just going to say. What do we want to do here? 1, 2. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, out the door. Take a sip of bourbon here. Theoretically, everyone can assassinate you. She'll rat on me. Okay, we'll say 2. The other girls have told me about all kinds of dealing that went on during Alfonso's administration. I wasn't sure if you were that kind of president. Don't worry your pretty head about it. I most certainly am not. She and I took a moment to look out over the lights of the city before heading to the elevators. It's making me a little... I hope we don't have any affair-type stuff with her secretary. What happened in Narbol? Ministry of Defense reports that the situation along the border is getting tense. Rumberg's Southern Army was sighted training close to our borders. Okay. What about in... No, I'm not going to finalize the contract quite yet. One of our agents acting as a young sword member had an encounter with 2 members of the local police force in Enrica, Alsan Bolar and Vic Niza. According to the report, the policeman tried to bribe the agent to burn down a store that belonged to a known Communist Party member and to instigate further violence. We've detained the policemen on charges of corruption. Damn good work there, sir. All right. Contract, what's this? Meeting with Marcy Contry. Economic relief plan. All right. What about news articles? I need to know who the other construction companies are. Kieber suggests expanding executive powers. Leader of the NFP. Reform demands gain popularity. Okay. Workers' Party Solidarity March and Blutish citizens targeted. What is our option here? Economic relief plan? All right, let's do the economic relief plan first. With the assistance of the National Business Council and the Central Bank, Simon Hole put forward a countrywide relief plan to mitigate the economic hardships that are being felt. We can provide stimulus checks for people in need of bailout or bail out businesses under serious financial strain, or decide not to approve the plan. So essentially we can give individuals money, we can give businesses money, or we can do nothing. We have a budget of 2 left. Everybody wants me to give money to the people? Isn't that communist? Just kidding. I would think that if we give people the cash, then they will spend the money, which will then cause businesses to do better. So we'll do stimulus checks for the people in need. Unemployment and checks. The administration has fallen for populism, and the idea of giving money to people will solve the problems for the economy overall. It's hard to grasp where these ideas came from. Oh, come on. An economic paper would certainly understand the value of providing people cash. Entish Lawgiver, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it, dude. Or dudette. All right, let's go meet the head of the media. Let's see what he wants to say. He's probably going to bribe me, I'm sure. After a few hours of driving along River Esquel, we took a turn before entering Contrate. The darkness started setting as we drove up a hill. Where are we, Serge? We're nearing the Hoss Country Club, Mr. President. We'll be there shortly. We arrived in the Big Iron Gates. Wouldn't we have like a motorcade or something? We arrived at the Big Iron Gates of the country club opened. It was huge and outright extravagant. The main building-inspired lesbian architecture was lit from all sides. It was rather chilly. I was approached by Peter Vectern and Lucien Galad. I hope the journey was comfortable. The location is very remote indeed. Anything to keep me away from home. It wasn't bad. I'm looking forward to this meeting. I can't think of comfort when our country is descending into chaos. I'm sure it'll be worth our time. He is a contrary after all. Let's get personal. Let's get personal. Enter the building. After opening the marble engraved wooden door, we were greeted by two tall women. The receptionist led us to a meeting room upstairs. Marcel was standing by the window looking outside at the beautiful complex. He turned around to have a quick look at us both. He was a really handsome man with fair hair. He walked toward me with his hand reached out for a handshake. Why would I do nothing? That's just rude. It's such a pleasure to meet you in person. I appreciate your efforts to reach out for a mutually beneficial friendship. Thanks for hosting us. I admired your father very much. May he rest in peace. Welcome. Your kind words have touched me, Miss Vice President. He was indeed a great man. May he rest in peace. He was a true entrepreneur. Please accept our condolences. We are saddened. He would have been very happy to hear from you, Mr. President. It's time to look forward. Let us talk about our bright future. Mercy, thank you very much for the follow. Yes, there's much to discuss. Believe it or not, I have been a secret admirer of your political success. I find your quick rise to power was shockingly well executed. I would not be standing here if I was bad at what I do. The admiration goes both ways. The past months have been tumultuous, to say the least. I'm glad you and your family were unharmed at the shooting. The whole incident must have been a shock for the kids. They aren't used to what we lived through back in the late 20s. I still remember when my father took us out of the country when it became too dangerous and contrite. They were startled, but the important thing is they're safe and sound. Spare me your life story. I stayed and served my country dutifully. I'll just say they were startled, but the important thing is they're safe and sound. Of course, this is all that matters. No family should suffer from tragedy ever again. We had enough of that. Well, I am known to be a straightforward person, so let me get to the point without wasting your valuable time. It was during Alfonso's campaign when I was struck by what you have done to the party. The famous piece depicted a giant sleeping beneath a village. The trees, rivers, and hills were all part of the giant's body. Its eyes were two caves looking up at the people. It showed daylight at the far left and night at the far right. The giant seemed to be watching the village. It was totally unbeknownst to the villagers. You said we will transform this nation, Mr. Rain. My conglomerate has a way of doing things, and I don't want them to change. Oh, okay, Marcel. So I want to cooperate with you. Please explain further. You might have the people's support for now, Mr. President, but what happens when you make mistakes? Everybody makes mistakes. What's that supposed to mean? Let's hear his point, Vice President. Being a president in this country means having many enemies, enemies that would resort to anything to bring you down. Let's say these enemies caused a scandal or leaked sensitive information from the administration. These would be destructive when they were released, if they were released. Assume that the articles would actually protect your integrity no matter what. Try to imagine how up to 5 million people I reach will not lose faith in you. So he's threatening me. That's a good start. You aren't just being nice, are you? What? What does this even mean? So yeah, this guy has a bit of a mafioso name. I'm not really sure where to go from here. Ask him to say it's blackmail? Oh. I guess I could just say, what do you want in return? Doesn't really commit me one way or the other. Let us hear your offer sounds a little bit more openly receptive. I think this is more neutral. I want two things, Mr. President. Number one is a guarantee from you that the Ryan administration won't meddle in Haas affairs no matter what happens. Number two is a simple gentleman's favor for the future. Let me prove my services to you first, and I'm sure you won't disapprove when the time comes. I don't even understand what he really wants. So, like, don't meddle in Haas affairs. Well, what are Haas affairs? I don't even know what they're up to. I don't even know, like... This was the guy at the business said to say hi to, so when you didn't accept the bribe, they went to this. But, like, this is different than the bribe. He's just saying don't meddle in this company's affairs. But that has nothing to do with the contract that they were trying to bribe me over. So I'm not quite sure. It's an interesting proposal. How do I know I can trust you, or it's far too risky? Far too risky immediately shuts him down. How do I know I can trust you? Could be offensive. Interesting proposal commits me too much at this point, so I think I'm going to go with 3. My circle advised against this. They don't even know we are meeting, Mr. President. We both put ourselves at risk here, but I'm willing to trust you. The question is, are you willing to trust me and accept this offer? You've been awfully silent, Peter. I think he's getting more out of this than we are. The issue tied to his request must be so important for him that he's offering this risky deal. We need to be cautious. If we get caught or this gets out, I can't imagine the consequences. I mean, I don't know what scandal I have. We don't know anything about, like, a backstory that could be scandalous. I suppose the scandal could be me sending some stuff back. No direct, although maybe, I don't know. I misread some words. Whatevs. I don't know. I'm really torn on this. I don't want to immediately get myself embroiled in scandal or making enemies. But I kind of feel a little bit pushed into a corner here. I guess I can always break faith with them later on, right? So basically I can prevent any scandal from coming up. I'll shake his hand and be polite. All right, and with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. This was a bit of a long one, almost an hour long. It was taken from my live stream from my Twitch channel from a couple of days ago. I don't usually like putting together episodes that are this long, but we did. Anyway, the theme of this episode was definitely bribery. Bribery and blackmail. And so in one event, we declined, and in the other, we accepted, although I'm not sure we'll follow through on our part of the bargain or not in the future. So we'll see how that plays out in the next episode. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.